Hey everybody, Professor Hanlon here at Fredonia. Wanted to speak with you today about creating a great jazz pizzicato sound. Now, there's not really one way to do this, so I just want to show you what I do and why I like it. Okay, so a lot of times I think it's really important to let the sound we want to make lead our decision making. Okay, for me, I love to have a big sound. I mean, I think it's crucial to have a big sound playing jazz, right? But I don't like to have a sound that's harsh. I want to have a sound that's clear and will project, but never harsh. What I've found to work best for that is to use a two-finger approach. I'm generally talking about walking at this time and groove playing. You know, soloing is sort of its own thing. You're going to be playing a lot of faster notes. But for walking and groove playing, I like to use a two-finger approach. So if you take your hand, take your third and fourth finger out of the way and just set it like this, you'll notice that the first finger and the second finger, when the fingers are slightly angled, will strike the string at the same place, okay? Meaning that if I'm like this, they're not going to be quite together. If I'm like this, they're not going to be quite together. Get the angle right, and those two fingers will strike the string sort of just right, you know? And I like to make a bit of a hook out of that shape and play the bass, I don't know, maybe between the D harmonic and the G harmonic, between that general area. And basically create that hook, let the thumb be anchored back here behind the fingerboard, and then use potential energy in the wrist by raising the wrist and then letting the wrist fall to pull the fingers through the string and to land down on the next string below it, right? So if I'm walking, you can see that my wrist is really coming up and then falling for every note. So hopefully what you can hear is a nice big tone that has a clear articulative front, but not any kind of a harshness to it, right? To me, again, that's what's going to really be a beautiful tone that will project and support the band or the ensemble, whatever it may be, beautifully without causing too much trouble. So the trick is to really make sure you're starting with potential energy in the wrist, letting the wrist fall, okay? And that's where you're going to get your power. It's going to be with physics, not with muscle, all right? Now, 4-string bass, E string, you've got nowhere to go in a way, right? Nowhere to land is really how I should say that. You don't have a string underneath it. Now, my jazz bass is a 5-string, which is great, but for most of us, that's not what we're dealing with. So on the E string, it's just important to still make that full motion as if you're going to land somewhere, but the trick is not to go too far away, because you've got this big sort of Elvis move to recover, right? So G string, D string, A string, E string. So there's your kind of groove-oriented sound for jazz bass. Now, if you're playing more active material with more lines, obviously you need to be using both fingers. I basically keep everything the same in terms of how my right hand is relating to the bass, in terms of the approach angle and things like that, and then just allow the fingers to move and work independently. Right? And of course, as we would expect with the bow, expect with any instrument, there's all kinds of colors available to us, and it's absolutely important that we're not playing only in one way. I do think for groove playing and walking, you want to be thinking about playing in a really consistent way because you're supporting the rest of the musicians. So if any of this, you'd like some clarification on any of this, feel free to send me a note, hanlon@fredonia.edu, and meanwhile, happy practicing.